Welcome to the Owning It series, The Voice of AAHOA. I'm Alan Roleri, publisher of Hotel Business. Joining me today is Cecil Staton, President and CEO of AAHOA. Cecil, welcome.
Thank you very much, Alan. Good to be with you.
So let's jump right into it. A recent survey by the AAHOA revealed 9 in 10 voters support Congress passing another COVID relief bill. 89% agree Congress should remain in session until reaching an agreement. And you were recently quoted as saying over half of America's hotels are at risk of foreclosure because of the pandemic. Yet, here we are with no new stimulus package in place. Our industry needs help, and AAHOA has been advocating on our behalf. So Cecil, please give us an update on recent initiatives, including the very impressive 10,000 Letters, One Purpose campaign.
Alan, again, thank you for allowing me to spend some time with you today. I will tell you this is probably one of the most frustrating times for America's hoteliers in modern history. We are dealing with an enormous liquidity crisis. And, you know, the real issue, which we hope everyone understands, it's through no fault of hotel owners, right? I mean, our members, almost 20,000 strong, who own more than half of the hotels in this country, they are good business people. They were playing by the rules and were operating, and really over the last 3 years, the economy has been good. They've done very, very well. But all of a sudden, a pandemic is upon us. The government makes the decision essentially to close down the economy for a period of time. And the most significant segment of the economy, hospitality in general, is all but shut down. Originally, it was thought it would be a period of 8, 10, 12 weeks. Here we are 7 months in, and we are facing a great crisis with our employees who are furloughed or sitting on the sidelines unemployed. We're dealing with a huge liquidity crisis where there are mortgage payments due each and every month, taxes due, and yet our occupancy rates are still incredibly low. And, you know, we're just frustrated sitting here day after day waiting on the Congress and the administration to act. So it's an incredibly frustrating time because we are at that precipice. The original forbearance hoteliers got from their lenders, that's over. Bankers need regulatory help in order to be able to continue to give forbearance to their borrowers. We have the whole CMBS loan issue that's out there where it's so difficult for our members to get any kind of forbearance. And yet Congress is focused on an election, and the election is taking precedence over acting, over coming together to do what's in the best interest of small businesses across our country. So yes, we're frustrated. And in the midst of that, a couple of weeks ago, we decided we could not be silent any longer. And candidly, we haven't been silent behind the scenes, but that we needed to go public, have a more public face to our campaign to get our members of Congress, members of the House and Senate, and the administration to come together to do something on behalf of our industry. And so we came up with a 10,000 Letters, One Purpose campaign. We launched it. Fortunately, within about 24 hours, we exceeded the 10,000 goal. And so we increased our goal to 15,000. We hit that within about another 24 hours. And so I'm very proud that America's hoteliers have stepped up to send letters, to send communications to their members of the House of Representatives, to their United States senators, and to the White House to say, we need you to act now. We need a stimulus package to ease the unprecedented liquidity crisis that is gripping the hotel industry at this particular moment. And as you said, we're at a pivotal juncture where more than half of the hotels in this country could go into foreclosure because of this pandemic. Without an additional federal stimulus, 67% of hotels have said they won't last another 6 months. So we need action, and I'm very proud that hoteliers have come together across this country to express their frustration, but also to ask very clearly members of Congress and the administration to come together and to act.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit more specifically about the 5 areas hoteliers are asking our elected officials to prioritize?
Well, I want everyone to remember that hotel owners are typically small business people, at least our members are. A lot of people think of the industry, they see a name on the door and they assume there's some huge corporate entity standing behind that hotel. In reality, because the franchise system is so predominant in our industry, our members are actually small business people. They are franchisees of those brands that you may see on the door. And then we have many members who are also independent hoteliers without a formal relationship with a brand. So there are a lot of things that we really would like for Congress to consider, but we focused on 5 things. One, we definitely want another round of funding for the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program funding for the small businesses that have been hit the hardest by the pandemic. Again, the original program was only intended to be of help for 10 to 12 weeks. As I said, we're 7 weeks into this. So we need resources for another round of PPP loans to small businesses in our country. We also want them to provide more resources for the Economic Injury Disaster Program. This again is another loan program that's out there through the SBA. It has not been funded properly. There have not been enough resources put into that program in ways that would allow hoteliers to have access to it. That's another thing that they can do. We also want them to provide extended temporary relief from debt through restructuring, at least through January 1, 2023, to ease the pressure on borrowers. We believe that some of this can actually be done through regulation, regulatory reform through the FDIC, through the Treasury. It doesn't necessarily require legislation, but lenders, as I mentioned earlier, they're looking for guidance from their regulatory bodies to say, yes, it's okay to continue working with borrowers. That's an important part of this in order to help hoteliers survive a little longer and get to the other side of COVID. We also have got to resolve that other issue I mentioned earlier, the commercial mortgage-backed securities loan crisis. These are a unique kind of loan. They're bundled up and they're sold into securities instruments. They're sometimes parts of retirement programs in states, the retirement funds, they're part of hedge funds. And because of the unique nature of these loans, it's very hard to find a path to get the forbearance that hoteliers need. There again, we think some regulatory relief could help there to give them more relief for an extended period of time. And then the final one I want to say is we really need to have some changes made to the Main Street lending program and some additional funding there. Right now, it's set up in a way that makes it very difficult for hoteliers to participate in it, but we want that as well. So those are really the 5 things we're focused on, Alan.
Right, and the Main Street Lending Program, if I'm not mistaken, you sent a letter with some of the top leaders in our industry to President Trump specifically about that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we got a great group to come together. You would recognize all the names, industry leaders across the hotel space in our country. We really asked President Trump to get engaged because there are some things that can be done, as I've already mentioned, short of legislation. We do want legislation for some of those things, the PPP loan program, particularly additional funding. But there's something we believe that can simply be done by the administration through the Department of the Treasury. We have urged President Trump to authorize the Federal Reserve and Treasury to use its 13(3) emergency lending authority to perhaps set up some loan structures that could be made available to hoteliers or small businesses in general across our country who are managing this liquidity crisis. We also have asked them to establish an asset-based lending facility by replacing some of the very rigid standards that are currently in the Main Street lending program that absolutely prevent hoteliers from even being able to participate in that program were it to get additional funding, which we hope it will. So there's some regulatory things, again, for some of these very complex loan programs. They're often too complex and too convoluted. We think with regulatory reform, they can be made to be appropriate tools and accessible for hoteliers across the country. And so those are the kinds of things we were talking to President Trump about in our letter.
Right. Yeah. And it was a very impressive list of signatures on that letter. So I know this is a difficult question. These days, no one has a crystal ball. We almost don't even know what to expect tomorrow. But what is your sense? What is your prediction regarding the relief package negotiations in Washington? And for those watching, how can they get involved if they want to help?
Well, it's a very frustrating thing to watch right now because everything is colored by the lenses of an election, which is only now a few days away. Look, we're asking them to set aside electioneering, and that's a hard thing to ask politicians to do this close to an election. But the economy, there's just too much at stake. And so we really need for them to set aside the partisan bickering and come together. I've actually been encouraged by some of the things I've heard over the last couple of days. Obviously, President Trump has said that he would lean on Republican lawmakers to come on board if they can reach a deal with the House. Speaker Pelosi has said to her House caucus that there's still significant areas of disagreement, but that progress has been made. So right now, it looks like the disagreement focuses on aid to state and city governments that are facing budget shortfalls. That's a priority for Democrats. And for Republicans, it probably boils down to liability protection for businesses that reopen. Now, we're very interested in liability protection for businesses, but I will tell you, we really hope that they'll put aside some of these peripheral issues and that they will just focus on the economy, focus on small businesses. We hope that there's a little light here and that perhaps something can still get done over the next few days. And we certainly hope that's the case. And even if it doesn't, we're going to continue pressuring members and the White House to get something done in the lame duck session that will begin immediately after the election. Here's what we need everyone to do. I think one of the clearest things to come out of this pandemic is the importance of members of our industry, hoteliers specifically, to really have that personal relationship with their legislators. There's really nothing like it. Nothing more valuable than being able to pick up the phone and get your member of Congress on the phone, your U.S. Senator. Look, we're close to an election. Right now, perhaps more than at any other time over the course of an election cycle, members of their staff, even if you can't get to the member, they're listening to what voters are saying. They're listening to what constituents are saying. So I would just encourage everyone to pick up the phone and call the office of your member of Congress, call the offices of your United States senators. You can even call the White House. You can send emails, but don't sit back and wait on others to do this. Get involved and make those efforts to reach out and touch your members of Congress and even the White House, because right now you may have a chance to get an ear more easily than any other time. And we need for everyone to participate in this. We're all in this together. We hope to come out of this together. And working together, we hope we can push for some significant and positive change for small business in general across this country and for hoteliers specifically.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we encourage everyone out there, all of our hotel business community, to please get involved, call your local governments, all the things that Cecil just said. Our industry needs it. Our industry needs it. And, we will come out of this together. We will be stronger, but we need to take the steps to get there. Well, Cecil, I want to thank you so much for talking with us today. I know you're incredibly busy. I don't know if you've slept since March, but
Wish I had.
Well, on behalf of the hotel business team and I'm sure the industry as a whole, I thank you for everything you're doing and the AAHOA organization is doing on our behalf. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate the
Right.
time.